This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I already made the greatest and biggest orc possible. What if you don't like the idea of a giant Prime Ork? Well, thanks to a modular construction and shoulder Jenga, I can convert this guy into a big mechanized Gargant. Hold on to your bits. I want to pump up the DACA numbers, but let's start small with a little shoulder turret. Got some soap pump and spray bottle guts to make these stumpy barrels. I joined the resistance and all I got was this dome. Wait, I can use this. A test fit and then shave the dome and stick on the barrels. I use printer plastic to make some chunky armor panels. For a bit more detail around the gun mount, I attach what I think is a helmet visor from Playmobil. With that in place, I split these fake Lego Technic donuts for the height adjuster kind of mechanism, Milliput nuts and bolts, and the green stuff rivets to polish off the detail. Next! Now for the embiggened DACA, we need a giant Mega Gatling cannon. Cardboard tubes are fine as barrels, but you know how I feel about a weakly detailed or overly thin muzzle. That's where these come in. Call me nuts, but I think these threaded attachment hardware pieces make awesome muzzles. Just look at all that detail. It's pretty easy to line up 6 cylinders in a circle if you have 7 of the same diameter, and I do. Once those are all clumped up, I cap the middle with this plastic wheel. Once each barrel gets nutted, the crime of using cardboard is completely hidden forever. I break down this spray bottle as a possible mount. We'll come back to that. Next up is a mega giant big battle cannon type weapon. This lid piece for the outer dimension and the soap pump as the interior. Again, you can't really be going around with the paper thin Pringles can kind of weapons. The barrel walls need some heft. Little tube here for like a big shooter. Then we have another mega cannon candidate in the form of this abused sprinkler system plumbing. Gotta stick all this DACA onto something. It's not quite Matrix Vision, but it's still fun to say. Whoa! There's nice potential hidden away in this printer chunk. With a few seconds of on-screen sawing, it seems to come free and be ready to have various barrels held close by while I deliberate about placement forever. Using more printer chunks and a lid and some screws for good measure, I build up what will eventually be the shoulder mount. Then I commit and actually start gluing on some barrels, including this big stack of lids which I can definitely defend. It's chunky and probably makes sense logically to have this mega barrel built out of several tiers of cylinder. Just imagine its scale, this is like 20 meters long. How boring would it be to just stick a perfectly straight cardboard tube on there? Hint, very boring. Fill in the gaps with smaller weapons, including this test piece from my second Ork tower. Now I begin affixing random chunks of detail to the barrel, including this thing which, thanks to the comments, was identified as a Transformers piece. Thanks for your help. Leave a comment if you can identify any parts that I don't know. More stuff to break up these plain surfaces. Maybe one more barrel, then a bit of Barbie branded Mega Blocks. I seal up the back of the shoulder with plastic chunks and blocks. Once that underlying detail is set, I begin paneling it up. These are slabs of printer plastic that have been roughly cut and weathered up with a hobby knife and file. I also use my leather punch to quickly add raised rivets. Why am I not showing this on film? I'll never know. I will show you how I make this holy panel though. Set up the location with a small bit, and then switch to a larger one to bore out a bit of an indent. Bonus points if you break the small bit somehow. I don't want to think of a quirky segue, so just watch this ad and comment your favorite Easter egg, cause this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Turns out it's a pretty simple task to make a nifty website using Squarespace. Here, check this out. I'll just push this button and build my own page. Pick some categories and then it provides hundreds of awesome free templates. Oh, I almost went with this one. Okay, now modifying the template is easy. Look, now the videos on this page will automatically be epic. Hey, if you get stuck, you can watch this good looking dude teach you about the tools. Sorry I don't have merch, so I need to hide this section. But hey, that's just my page. Don't let that stop you. Heck, you could add 3 merch pages to your site. Beyond merch, this is really just a solid way to set up a web presence and display your work in a sweet gallery. If you have a small business, you can easily set up pages to sell products or services, and it even has inventory management. Oh, and the best part is you can try this all for free. When you're ready to launch your site, head to squarespace.com/scratchbashing to get started and receive a 10% discount. Finally, some toothy panel details, because that's something orcs do, and then rivet details for any panels or areas that didn't get the punched ones. With the big DACA arm paneled up, it's time to move on to the problematically named grabber arm. Here are the bits. Okay, I have the same lid as a shoulder joint. I will stack that together with various other diameters to make a strong functional shoulder joint. I forget what this chunk is, but it's very superior to your everyday disc. And It makes the perfect elbow. I pin this in place with stir sticks just to visualize everything. Now the eponymous grabber must be built. These shredder blades will make it even more dangerous and controversial to be grabbed by the grabber. Plastic clothes hangers usually have an I-beam style construction, which is a good look for big industrial metal. These wider curved pieces are a good foundation for the silhouette of the claws. I stack the blades in an alternating pattern to present more teeth, then the plastic gets layered in, finally sandwiched together with more blades. Here are some plastic chunks I found on the street. They also kind of look like metal beams, so I'll use one as the forearm and the other as the quote-unquote bicep, replacing this stir stick. If this thing has a mechanical bicep, it needs to be balanced out with a tricep as well. In this case, it would be some rounded mechanical bits with some kind of piston or something between them. I knew I wanted the arm to be bigger and more complex than just a couple of discs, so this is how I'm justifying it. Some more round machinery, and then another screw here as an anchor for the claw, since it's getting pretty heavy. I use wire and tons of glue to attach the claw at a bit of an odd angle. The claw is getting a big wrist mechanism, so I wanted it to be flexing and rotating. You'll see. First, this half of some motorcycle toy must be sliced and added as part of the claw machine. Now the wrist articulation is realized with this transformer piston piece and these, I think, Mega Bloks joint pieces. The gaps are filled with little car wheels to look like there's even more going on beneath the surface. Now some angled Mega Bloks to chonk out the bottom edge. Instead of a funny bone, I'll make some sort of oil filter looking protrusion on the elbow. The soft metal cap can be deformed to make a pretty convincing thinner metal component. Connect the tricep, then bulk out the middle of the arm with another random chunk. A little joint at the top of the bicep, held in place with a cute mini Mega Bloks piece. Rings to build up the rotating part of the grabber, and then, oh man, this is so dumb, bulk out the inner wrist with the Ork Spork. I used some other stuff too. I felt like the grabber claws needed some heft, so again the printer plastic comes out for some bumper guard kind of things, and the tips. Fatten up the pointy tips, and then some emergency gap filling and sanding. I add significant weathering to the guard pieces and attach them to the back of the claws. Oh, hey, this is how panels get made. Sorry about the DACA arm part missing this. After cutting to shape, I grind and nick the edges with a file and knife. Leather punch to add rivets, and sometimes I bend it slightly too. This one gets a secret gear behind it. Then, basically, I prepare a bunch more, and then panel, 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 cables, 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 plastic rings to add that perpendicular point of interest. Round thing, donut, round thing, support thing, round thing, rivet, 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 rivet. Wait, slow down. I place on the rivets and then slide them into a little patch of glue. This is sometimes easier than trying to precisely plunk them down and get super glue all over your tweezers. It's robo-noggin time. Slide some bits into frame and then, well, obviously, flipping this half torso over will give us a nice set of brows to work from. And the next step should also be obvious, but cut the bottom off the torso and split it in half and then flip it to make the forehead. This weird coat hanger thing has some curved pieces which I use to make the center line. Trim this car bumper for future nose use, and then a nifty soap or spray bottle component as the left eye. Mega Bloks disc launcher for future cheek use, and this part goes under the nose. Add a big epic eye socket from this VCR plastic. The foretold nose and cheek elements are added, and finally some gnarly teeth. Time for a modularity check. Ha 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 ha. Once I have the right height, this split fake Duplo wedged together with stir sticks forms the foundation of the inner bottom jaw. A few more big teeth and this perfect metal piece on the midline. I can't seem to stop using cutlery, so here is a spoon. More plastic printer for some big horns. Little greeblies to enhance eye detail. Horn reinforcement, and Tamiya putty from Japan. Yum. Almost forgot that smell. After the finger stippling, this time remembering to apply pre-prime, I go ahead and prime for the pre-spackle prime. Gloop and brush the spackle into and onto all the gaps and surfaces that need it. Once that's dry, it gets shaved and filed flush as appropriate. As I'm, oh, whoops, almost forgot the lore. Yes, maybe this isn't completely accurate, but it's the lore I choose to believe. And if I'm an orc, then that makes it true. Checkmate! Mod Podge seal on all the exposed spackle. This gives it a nice plasticky skin. Now I realize the noggin has a huge hole in it and frighteningly few rivets, I fix both of those glaring issues now. Real priming, and it's painty time. The silver I made last time is sad and dry. Dump out random metallics, and then using my still unreleased Kickstarter exclusive brush, I give everything a solid coat. Too shiny, so it's wash time with a darkish wash I found in this bottle. So the silver didn't make it, but this SB brand custom orc paint has survived. I applied this to many panels, avoiding the edges. It takes a while, but it's worth it for the free weathering. The reds get a glaze of a dark wash, focused towards the lower edges to shade or modulate or something. It just makes each red panel more interesting. Then I come back in with more red to highlight. A few areas get a coat of black 10.1 for that extra dark black dark tone. Teeth and the head get an off-white painted in the same way, avoiding the edges. This is a good time to add in checkerboards too. As is customary, the white is treated like dirt with a brown dirt wash, and then treated like rust with this oxidizing soup. Getting into the details now, the grabber claws get some caution stripes to warn everyone. Now if they get grabbed, it's their own fault. Cabling is painted in non-skin green, and various metals are picked out with golds or copper. While we have the gold out, let's hit the barrels of the Gatler with a quick heat effect. Simply paint gold, then glaze red into blue. While we're getting into these high-tier painting techniques, we might as well do a radical glow effect on the eyelids. Yes, quite woggy indeed. Wait, what do you mean you aren't sure what scale it is? Oh man, if only someone could provide some royalty-free grots to use.
Not a problem.
These not grots get painted in green with a red lowlight, just like the Prime Ork. Pick out the details like their gear and goggles, and then we place them around the vehicle, making hasty repairs or just getting ready to charge into battle. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon. I always post extended showcases and breakdown videos. For the Prime Ork, the bonus content was actually longer than the original video. You also get early video access and Discord and all that stuff. Check out my last 2 videos if you want to see me build Necromunda terrain or goof on Wheel of Time. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next epic build video.